Welcome to the Creating Confident Content podcast. Hey everyone, let's get real. Content is not going away, and creating content for social media is more important than ever, and there are a lot of moving parts. So I created this podcast to not only share tactical tips, but also the mindset work that needs to get done to create successful content online and offline so that you can grow your business faster and help others. So let's get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Creating Confident Content podcast. And thank you so much for joining me today. I have a very special guest, and we have a lot to unpack in this podcast. And her name is Sheila O'Broin. And Sheila O'Broin is a mindset coach and transformational advisor. And she lives in Rome, Italy, which is so cool. But Sheila and I got connected through a fellow coach who I was on her summit, Lisa Bennett, and she introduced us because Sheila is doing her second online show, which kicks off Monday the 18th. And she asked me if I would be one of the guest experts. And I was super excited and I said yes. So without further ado, welcome, Sheila.
Thank you, Melinda. It's so good to be here.
Yes, this is so exciting. And we had so much fun recording my portion of your online show. And we're talking about boundaries. So that'll be super fun when that gets released on the 27th. But in the meanwhile, why don't you share a little bit about your background before we dive into all things online shows and summits?
Sure. So I don't know how much I should say because I'm pretty old. So how far back should I go? Well, I'll just give you the cliff notes. I'm half Irish, half Italian. I live in Rome in the center of the beautiful Eternal City. And I've been a professional nomad for most of my professional life. I think it's because my father was a diplomat. He's retired now, and they're both living in Ireland. But I've always traveled in my childhood, and I kind of kept doing that as a young adult. So but you know the saying, I went from schooling in Ireland all the way over to China. And then, as you know, all roads lead to Rome. And so I came back to Rome where actually I was born. And I've been here for close to 15 years now. And now I'm embarking on the wonderful world of online marketing and becoming a coach, which is incredible that you can transform people's lives, and it really doesn't matter where they live because of technology.
Right.
So that's what I do.
Oh, that is so cool. Thank you for sharing. My gosh, we could probably have many podcasts about all your travels and that your father was a diplomat. That's really, I didn't know that. So one of the reasons, besides talking about your online show, which is called The Missing Link to Healthy Relationships, and we'll talk about that more at the end, like we'll get into the details, but I wanted to have you on with the rebrand of Confident Conversations becoming Creating Confident Content. I have never put together and been the host or hostess of an online show or summit. And so I don't know anything about putting it together.
Right.
So I thought that, this is your second one this year. So I thought that it would be really cool if you share with the audience just some tips, some things to look out for, pitfalls, we learn by our mistakes, how much time these things take you, just kind of walk us through your process and your learnings from 1 to 2 and, anything else you feel like sharing.
Sure. I'd be happy to. Okay. So if somebody has never, ever created an online show or a summit or what have you, I would probably advise them to do what I did, which was to start small. And by starting small, I wouldn't do a 21 day or a 30 day or a multi day show. I would start with doing it one day with at least 7 speakers and having those speakers speak live so that you have that interaction. Mm-hmm. So that's the first tip that I would do, that I would say, is to start small, because there's so many different moving parts to it, whether it's small or big. And so if you bite off more than you can chew, you probably end up in tears, because I'm really glad I started small. And then once I had that under my belt, the one day, then I felt so much more confident to sort of embark on a bigger venture, which is what I'm doing now. So that's the first thing. Now, in terms of deciding what to have your online show about, that's something that requires a little bit of thought, in the sense of you have to find that sweet spot between what is it that you like, what interests you, and what is it that you'd like to find more about. So either you do it on your zone of genius, or you're in the position of interviewer of experts, so that you can gather that, you can increase that zone of genius of yourself. So that is number 2. The third tip that I would say is give yourself time to organize it. The first show that I did, I gave myself 3 months. And you might think, wow, that's a lot of time for just a one day with 7 speakers. But let me tell you, it takes some time to find those speakers. It takes some time to talk to them, find out if they're interested. You get a lot of rejection. You get a lot of people saying no. So you need to find those 7 speakers that for your first one, that can really bring it all together. That you have a show that you're adding value. You're giving you're giving people something that they can't find elsewhere. Yeah. So that's my 4th tip. And my 5th tip is don't think that you can do it all by yourself. I mean, for example, I'm not very techie. And so the first thing that I needed to go out and hire was a VA, a virtual assistant, that knew how to set up all the things that you need to set up, so that when you click on your URL, it magically appears on the internet. so and there's an awful lot of back end to that. What I did was I was the interface with all the speakers, so I got their bios, I got their photographs, and then just handed it to my very competent VA. And she made sure that, magic happened on the internet. So that those would be the 5 tips, the main tips. And obviously, with that, don't give up, because along the way things go haywire. So you're going to have some days where you're really feeling disappointed or discouraged. But I have to say that even though, and then I can remember the first time I did it, I had 2, I call them wobbly moments, where it was just fear speaking, and disguised itself by, oh my gosh, this is not going to work out, blah, blah, blah. And I thought I was being very logical, but thankfully I had a coach, which is another bonus tip that I just throw in there. Get yourself a coach that has done these online shows and can guide you through those moments. where you'll have, well, I'm not saying that you will have, but I certainly did, especially when you're doing something absolutely new. I had a few moments where I was thinking, oh, I really don't know what I'm doing here. Maybe I should just not do it. And thank goodness I kept going. And because the feeling of euphoria when you actually have it under your belt and you created something, and you get great feedback and response from people thanking you for putting something on that really helped them is well, there's no words for it. It's just it just makes your heart full.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So I didn't know that your first one was live and you had 7.
Yeah.
And now you're 12 days with 24. Okay.
Yes.
I can't do the math today, but is that like triple? So
that is about triple. Yeah. No, but it is incredible that I felt as soon as I had that done, I was like, you know what? I am going for gold. I know more or less what needs to be done. And it's just really getting super organized. And the great thing is that now I don't have those voices saying, you don't know what you're doing. You stop, what have you, because I've done it, even if it's in a smaller measure. And the first one, what I did was, because a lot of people were, a lot of the speakers were in America. What I did was, instead of doing it a one day, from 11 o'clock to 4 o'clock, what I did was 3 hours on a Saturday and 4 hours on a Sunday. And so I split it up a bit so that my evenings were, mornings in Pacific Standard Time, or, in the early afternoon for the East Coast, and the same again on the next day. So, you can play around with it, and you can do it in a way that works for you. You don't have to do it exactly, in the way that it's prescribed.
Yeah, no, and that's great feedback, because I do believe that so many people try to follow either a coach, literally, or a program literally, and you have to do what works for you and what feels good for you. So I love how you adapted probably what you were taught as an example to what felt better for you. And sounds like that was really, really successful. So congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. No, yeah, it was really successful. And I love the experience on so many different levels, because the 7 speakers are now friends. Oh. And 4 of them, actually 5 of them, I invited all of them back to this one that I was doing. And one, for her schedule, she couldn't do. The other one was traveling. And so out of the 7, 5 have come back on, because the first one was called The Missing Link to Love. So it was very much focused on romantic love. And this one, as The Missing Link to Healthy Relationships, is pivoting slightly towards, opening up not just romantic relationships, but relationships in general. Because I think, how you do one thing in one arena really affects how you show up in other aspects of your life. So I was interested in exploring it in a little bit of a wider, shall we say, net. And it's been a really interesting journey, because of the 24 speakers, I this time I actually took note of just how many people I approached, and it's close to 80. So what? Yeah.
80 people you asked to be part of this?
80 speakers, yeah.
And so, just like, is it just that people just aren't interested? They don't understand the value? Like, why? Because you're really the first person I'm having a conversation like this.
Yeah.
So I'm fascinated.
Well,
yes.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's easier. This is why if you are doing it, this is probably another tip that I can give everybody. when you are doing it and you get a yes from a speaker, ask that speaker if they have any friends, because speakers have, speaker friends. And so having that as a referral, you would probably cut down the number of people that you need to ask. And I see it really as sales, you are selling your online show to speakers, and it can be a variety of reasons, Melinda. They can be busy, or they can, sometimes the email goes into spam, so you have to call them up again. But I when I had friends recommending other friends to me, it was just so much easier. So that would be the route I would take every time.
No, that's a really awesome tip. And how would you say, because you've really been in this lane and studying this lane and been part of this lane, how would you say that it has changed or evolved now that, we've had COVID? I hate using words that are overused, but I'll just say it for the sake of it. But, like Zoom fatigue, like how would you say that this lane of sharing and serving has changed and evolved?
I think maybe it's actually helped, because before there were so many more distractions. So it could have been more difficult to get people's attention. And now that things have kind of, sort of slowed down to a certain extent, the attention is really on things that are very important. And I can't think of anything that's more important than really looking at your relationships and seeing how healthy they are, and looking at how you can become a better human being, and seeing the ripple effects, in your life. And that's my goal as a coach, to really help others up level their mindset, and level up in how they show up. So in doing these kind of online shows, it's not like you're just sitting there watching passively. These talks, and even your talk, there is pretty transformational. And so if anybody that's really interested, they may not be interested in absolutely every one of the 24 talks, but they'll pick out the ones that really they need to speak to them. And I am pretty sure that their lives will change. So it's really about putting content that you're proud of, that that will make a difference. I think in the end, the proof is in the pudding. Of course, if you're just putting things out just for the sake of it, people are smart. They'll find out. They'll know, and they won't come back.
Right. No, that is very, very true. And I do believe that the overall online coaching space is transforming to really to where people that have real things to say, real experiences, are starting to get the space and the views that will really help more people. So
exactly.
Good. So tell me about, because I'm fascinated with Kartra, because what you have set up is gorgeous. So how did you discover that system? Share a little bit about that system, because if anyone out there is looking
sure
to, a show or a summit, it's really slick.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's one of the many different platforms that are there, and Kartra is it's a tool where you have everything that you need inside. But don't ask me to explain exactly what it is, because I don't know. That's something that VA does.
She did great.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they really look after it. I've learned how to track numbers. I've learned how to see, because what you do is you put your email through the Kartra, and it keeps a record of your email list, and then it's called broadcast. So it sends the email out, and you can see through the system how many people have opened it, and how many haven't, how many subscribers, how many, those kind of numbers. So you can see how effective you are, and it also has percentages. So you can see whether you want to see it in numbers, or there's a button that you press and then it'll give you the conversion rates. And that's pretty useful because it gives you an indication of how effective you are, or how much you're connecting with your tribe, or how, if you aren't, then you can tweak either your subject heading, or it may be a question also of when you're sending your email out. So there's a lot of different variables that you need to look at, but it's great to have a system that's there that you can look at, how your business is doing without going to, it's all in one place, basically, is what I'm saying.
Wow. And so are the actual shows or, recordings, however you want to say it, in Kartra as well? Like everything's in there?
So, like the website is done in Kartra, your email list is hosted within Kartra. Your emails that they're called broadcasts are there. Okay. You can also do surveys. You can do quizzes. You can do an awful lot of different things. Now, when you're recording, I'm not sure if it's hosted within Kartra or if it's linked, because I do know that, for example, all the talks that I've done, including yours, the 24 talks, they're hosted on Vimeo, which is for audio and video, and I think it's linked with Kartra.
Okay, gotcha.
But also all the social media graphics, that's all hosted in Kartra as well.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's really slick. So anyone out there in the audience, if this is something that you're thinking of doing, creating your own online show or summit, definitely understand that there's these amazing platforms now that can just really be awesome tools. I was very impressed when I clicked the link from Sheila for email. I was like, wow, this is very fancy. Look at this. I've got this tool. I've got this. So it was very, very impressive. So I just want to give you props and pass that along to your VA too, if you wish.
Yeah, I definitely will. No. And I mean, if you want to talk to my VA, she would be, I'm sure she'd be very happy to talk to you on your podcast and explain exactly all the various things, because she's been doing summits for the last 20 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So, this is a stupid question. So if online summits have been around that long?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, now a lot of people are doing it. Before it was very specialized.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
I guess I never thought about it because I only started in the coaching space at the end of 2018. So to me, things, everything's still kind of shiny and new.
That's great.
So that's like super cool. So let's dive in to the actual summit a little bit. Do you want to share who some of the speakers are and what are their topics?
Sure. Let me just have a look, because my memory is, as I said before, I'm getting on in years. So who do we have? Okay. So as I said before, I mean, this is an online show about healthy relationships. And I really wanted it to be healthy relationships in love, but also healthy relationships with your family, your friends, your co-workers, or if you're an entrepreneur in business, because as I said, how you show up in one way is very much how you show up in the other. So But I do have some great love coaches. There's Annie Lala. She's actually married to a very successful and famous entrepreneur called Eben Pagan. But Annie is a love coach, and she coaches singles as well as couples. And for this talk, she's going to be talking about how to stop dating and how to fall in love. That is one of the ones. And we have also Dr. Diana Kirshner, again, the number one secret to getting the love you want. Then we have a couple of experts that are talking about what you need to do to prepare yourself. And Adriana Kaiser is going to be talking about how your relationship with your body, certainly, for women, our body image or how we treat our body can improve. And when that improves, your relationships improve. That was a really interesting talk. And then I have a very good friend. I mean, he's an author. He's written about 17 books, Michael Gelb. And his most famous book was How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci, which is all about creativity. So I said, Michael, would you come on and talk about how to think like Leonardo da Vinci in love?
Oh, what a great idea.
Yeah. And he came on and he really shared very, very candidly his own love story, which was absolutely, I think I heard snippets of it, but it's just a beautiful story, and he gives some really heartfelt tips, and he was just very vulnerable and lovely in that. So I really enjoyed that. We have, oh my gosh, we just have Roy Biancalana, another very good relationship coach. He's very much about getting almost like, you have romantic muscles that need to be in shape. So he is all about getting you in shape for a relationships before you go on a date. Mm-hmm. Then we have Iris Ben-Ruby, who really talks about attachment styles and your relationship blueprint, because that relationship blueprint is going to predict why you keep picking a certain type of person in your relationships. And it doesn't have to be romantic ones, but the title of her talk is Why You Keep Picking the Wrong Partner, which is great. And then Raphael Kushner, oh my gosh, his talk was eye-opening for me, and it was called The Truth About Triggers. And I won't give it away, but the way he talks about triggers, and he has such an in-depth knowledge on it, it will change how you view what triggers are. Because, if you're anything like me, Melinda, if somebody triggers me, that's like it's their fault. That's something wrong with them, right? But with this kind of new insight on the truth about triggers and what they are and what they mean and how you can use triggers to really transform yourself, that's amazing. Then we have my very good friend, Catherine Horn. She's back as Iris Ben-Ruby is back. And there we're talking about people pleasing, because I'm a reformed people pleaser, and so is she. And she really teaches women. She's a coach on femininity, but really being authentic and in your power. And so how to stop people pleasing. And then Troy Spry, he's great because he talks about how the dating game has changed, especially, now with COVID and all of that, and what men wished that women knew. Because if we know certain things, and again, my jaw dropped when he was talking, because it's not, I think I kind of knew, but when he said it, it was like, oh my gosh, you're absolutely right. So his talk was great. And then Michelle Baxo, she's going to talk about how to flirt and still be authentic, and how even the word flirting sometimes gets a bad rap, and how you can do it in such a way that isn't sleazy or cheesy or whatever, but really is in a way that you can actually connect better with anybody, really. Then Jeffrey, oh my God, Jeffrey is so young and he's wise beyond his years. And he's talking about the crucial secret ingredient that all relationships need. And we go deep, deep, deep on this one. So much fun. Then Amy, Amy's also a really good friend of mine. She talks about unlocking your partner powers. Amy is a communication coach, and so she has a really interesting take about how you communicate and how your energy is with different people. So I won't say too much about that because, again, really powerful talk there. Kate, again, another good friend who's come back. She's going to talk about how you can go from breakdown to breakthrough in any kind of relationships. Then we have Kristen Envig. She's going to talk about really the feminine authenticity and how you can bring that to any relationships, to any kind of fora, networking, business, entrepreneurship, etc. And then we go back to the dating coaches, which is Tria and Cindy. Tria is going to really talk about how women can communicate better with men to have their needs met. Sometimes, how we communicate is as important as what we communicate. And Cindy really breaks down online dating and what tips everybody needs to do now that things have changed to be able to accelerate finding your match. We still have so few more to go, but that's
that's amazing lineup. That is crazy. I love it.
I mean, there's 8 more. I won't go through all of them because it's too much. But we're going from sabotage to successful relationships, our inner talk, how to hack yourself to healthy relationships, how to find that self-acceptance and leadership, how to negotiate to get everything you want and still have healthy relationships. Sometimes when you negotiate, the relationship stuff suffers, and this is a way to show you that you can get your way and still maintain a good relationships afterwards. And then we have looking at ancestral female trauma, which is something that I didn't really know very much about, but it really makes sense. Yeah. And then obviously yours, which I really loved, which was how to confidently set boundaries. And then lastly, we're going to have a mystery guest, which is all about looking at your roadmap to healthy relationships.
Wow.
So that is a lineup.
It sounds like mystery guest. Wow.
Yes.
Fun. So I will put the link obviously in the show notes so people can pull it up and see everything too. Because that's just a really awesome lineup, and I'm just super excited. I'm super excited for everyone. And gosh, I wish something like this existed. Well, now is very important too, but even more so when I was single, because I've been on so many calls and there are so many single men and women out there that just would love to be in the most perfect relationship. And it really sounds like the lineup of coaches and experts that you have put together can really help that. And I do believe that's a big need out there. I didn't get married till I was almost 35. And I've written about it in both of my books about, just how much I struggled. And so kudos to you. I do believe you're really serving a big need for the greater good. So I think that's really amazing.
Thank you. And the great thing about this is that it's all free. Everybody can, when they sign up, they get the email. I'll be sending them an email every day with 2 speakers, and they can just listen to it, and it's absolutely free. Of course, if they want to listen to it forever, then there's a way they can do that we have a VIP access bundle where they can just have all the speakers from this show, and I'm throwing in my first online show as well, and they can download it all immediately. I'm giving them the videos, the audios, and the transcripts.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That is very cool. Very nice. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else you want to add before we wrap this up? I just think this was a really, really powerful podcast, and I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for not only having me as part of your online show, but also doing this podcast together too, because it just serves more people and helps get the word out there.
Yeah, absolutely. What I would say is that what I see are people compartmentalizing. So they compartmentalize either their relationships or their work and whatever. And I would just encourage people to really integrate and see the interconnectedness of your relationships with your work, with your love life. Because when everything is in flow, your life flows so much better. Wouldn't you say, Melinda?
Yeah, I would definitely say that. And it's interesting because I've always felt that way for sure. And it's funny because once in a while I'll see like a post, let's say on LinkedIn, and they'll be giving advice of, don't bring your personal life into the office. And I'm just kind of paraphrasing here, right? But we all do on some level, right? So you're absolutely right. Like you can't just compartmentalize. You don't just, go into like a little closet, change clothes and become like this whole new person. Like you are your person. And you bring all of that with you wherever you go and whenever you do. So I think that's really, really, really important.
Yeah.
You just called out.
And I think this show, I mean, obviously I would say this, I'm biased, but I do think this show has something for everybody.
Yes, I can feel it.
No matter if they're single or in the relationships, because, whatever stage in life you're in, you're going to have something that you need to sort of overcome or transcend. And I'm absolutely convinced that you will find it in one or more of these speakers who are just amazing, each and every one of them.
Yeah, no, very cool. And I would even say I'm actually even fascinated by some of the topics, even though I am married, to kind of listen and go, oh God, that's such a great tip. I do wish I knew that when I was 30 years old, right? Because then you learn and you have like an aha moment and you can help somebody else in their journey. So
yeah. But I mean, even if you didn't learn it then, there was a reason for it. And if it speaks to you now, it means that you're ready for it now.
Yeah.
And so I think it's all perfect the way it is.
Yeah. Totally.
As it unfolds.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate this and this time because I know you're in Italy. So.
Yes.
So
a few hours ahead. I'm in the future.
You're in the future. That's hilarious. And I'll put your information as well in the show notes so people can reach out to you as well. So thank you again.
Thank you, Melinda. I really appreciate you having me on your show. I think it's marvelous what you do, and I've both enjoyed so much having you on my show, and I love the fact that you've invited me here. This is my very first podcast, so super excited. It's a Dear Diary moment for me.
It is a Dear Diary. It's a bucket list thing. Yay, That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All the best. Bye.